Twitter account called Individual Cases, users of which have created a live Google map tracking crimes committed allegedly by migrants in Germany. Every dot on a map represents separate crimes reported by German police or media. For example, dark purple shows incidents of sexual attacks, orange shows robberies, black shows attempted homicide, and so on. When you go to Google Maps, then you see something like this. These dots represent incidents involving migrants only in the first months of 2016. On the left side, all crimes are put in several categories. For example, first one is a category of sexual assaults and attempted rape, which includes more than 600 cases. Then you have attacks on children and teenagers, which include more than 300 cases. There is a direct link to every mentioned case, so you can check that for yourself if you know German. Quoted Rainer Wendt, the head of German police union. He said, "Every police officer knows that he has to meet a particular political expectations. It is better to keep quiet because you cannot go wrong." January 22nd, the news magazine Focus reported that Federal Anti-Discrimination Agency has put pressure on police in North Rhine-Westphalia to remove reference North African criminal groups while reporting crimes to media. They wrote, "There is a danger that people from these countries are placed under a general suspicion. We encourage you to delete reference to the North African origin from the press release." The best part of all this is that original article of Focus has been removed from their webpage. I wonder why. An influential columnist for German newspaper Der Spiegel named Jacob Augustin, right after Cologne attacks on New Year's Eve, wrote on his Facebook page, I quote, "We are so racist. Everyone immediately wanted to believe that 1,000 North Africans were committing mischief. 1,000! It is a fairy tale figure, just like 3 golden hairs of devil, or the 7 dwarfs, or the 13th fairy." On February 23rd, when this idiot realized that sexual assaults were no fucking fairy tale, he still had an arrogance to argue that true victims of this are the migrants. He stated that Germans who are worried about migrant crimes are motivated by racism. Migrants who assault German women and children are simply rebelling against German power structures. Germans who criticize such assaults are racist. And now goes the main part. The combined list of sexual assaults in January and February. It's not like there is one incident of harassment every day. Some days there are even multiple. January 4th, a group of migrant youth sexually assaulted a handicapped girl. January 7th, a 36-year-old asylum seeker was arrested for raping a 16-year-old boy inside a city hall. A Southerner sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl near the train station. January 9th, a 48-year-old woman was raped by 3 migrants in Dresden. January 10th, a group of Southerners sexually assaulted 3 girls at a public swimming pool. A 21-year-old West African was arrested for raping a 15-year-old girl at a train station at Wuppertal. And the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. Altogether, here is about 160 separate sexual crimes. Until now, German police in Cologne have received 467 complaints of sexual assaults regarding events on the New Year's Eve. Absolute majority of these claims were about light attacks like molestation and groping. So what will happen in the summer when girls wear far less clothing? Let's do a simple equation. 160 divided by 2 is 80 assaults a month. 467 divided by 80 is 5.83 months. So you can guess that about July 1st this year, there will be a second Cologne in Germany. By the end of this year, another one.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
Donald Trump's ignorant view of Islam could make both of our countries less safe. It risks alienating mainstream Muslims around the world and plays into the hands of extremists. Earlier today, London's new mayor doubled down on this attack. Take a look.
By giving the impression that Islam and the West are incompatible, you're playing into the hands of the extremists. It's about the message it sends from the greatest country in the world. I mean, what is the story of America? And I think, I think Donald Trump doesn't get the history of America. And my point with respect to, Americans is, look, I think, you've got a choice when it comes to the elections in November. You've got a choice of hope over fear. You've got a choice of unity over division. You've got a choice of somebody who's trying to divide not just your communities in America, but divide America from the rest of the world.
Here was reaction. The religious director of the Islamic Center for Greater Toledo, Imam Tawhid Eid, and the president of Act for America, Brigitte Gabriel. Imam, let me start with you. So he's basically saying Donald Trump's ignorant and could put both of our countries at risk if he doesn't say the right thing and not offend people with his words. Isn't that a threat that either you say what people expect you to say or they're going to attack you? But let me ask, but isn't there implied threat there that it makes our country less safe? He's saying either say things the way we demand or you're going to be attacked. That's how I interpret that. I guess my next question to you is, and I think this is very important for our audience to understand, is that we have the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, our FBI Director, our Assistant FBI Director, our Chairman of our House Homeland Security, Obama's former envoy, General John Allen, to defeat ISIS, have all said the following in some way, shape, or form, that ISIS will infiltrate the refugee population. Are you willing to gamble with the lives of Americans and bring people here knowing that our own intelligence community is saying ISIS will infiltrate it? I'm not willing to do that. Are you?
Well, we are less safe. We were welcoming the Muslims, and then they attacked us on 9/11. At 9/11, we had open arms. As a matter of fact, President Bush immediately after the attack said Islam is a religion of peace, and immediately went to the nearest mosque to tell Muslims, "Don't worry, we love you. We know this has nothing to do with you." And since then, we have had terrorist attack after terrorist attack on foiled terrorists who are plotting to kill Americans over and over, regardless of what we say. This sensitivity stuff is baloney. It's time to protect the American public. And for the mayor of London, who is actually a Muslim sympathizer, who actually represented Imam al-Qaradawi, one of the most notorious radical terrorist imams, who's actually banned from Britain right now, the same mayor representing him, he has no business lecturing Americans about who we get in and who we get out. As a matter of fact, Sean, today, a British television, Channel 4, aired a documentary about what British Muslims really think. And the head of the Equality and Human Rights Commission in Britain said, quote, "We made a big mistake in judging Muslim immigration." The report talked about Islamic immigration, integration, and segregation, and they said Muslims are creating nation within nations.
I've got to run, but I will tell you that unless we can vet them and guarantee the safety of Americans, we better listen to our intelligence community or Americans will die.
Exactly.
And ISIS has told us that's their strategy. Thank you both.
My position is very clear. We should leave the EU. Yes. And I believe that's the right way forward. Quite unfortunate, but that's the way it has to be. You have to take our national security as the topmost priority, not even our economy, our national security. When I became a British citizen many years ago, and I'm very proud of my British citizenship, I'm very proud of this passport. I'm very, very proud. Because I believe that Britain sheltered me because of my genuine fear of persecution back home many, many years ago. And Britain cherishes and nourishes people who want to speak their mind. And they should be able to do that because that's what made Britain great. I want to believe in a society where all people will be allowed to speak, all people will be allowed the dignity of being human. But on the other hand, what you have to believe that at least 3 to 4 million migrants have come to European shores recently. I do sympathize with genuine refugees, but still, we must not forget, we don't have to be part of the European Union to help genuine refugees, because we are signatories to Geneva Convention as well. There's most of these refugees, they will have European passports soon. To my knowledge, there are many Muslims who are members of extremist Islamist political groups in several parts of Europe. They are just simply waiting to get a European passport. And the attacks that we are seeing in France, in Germany, parts of Germany, in Belgium, these are all like, I would say, not their primary targets. Doesn't matter what you say, their primary targets are UK and the US, set aside when it comes to anything. America would want us to remain in the European Union so that they can have their say, but at the same time, we must not forget that America will have no other option but to trade with us, no matter what, even if we leave the European Union. So I don't think that should be a reason to stay on. The politicians of the leading political parties would support staying with the European Union because they want to have some sort of a bossing status when you go to European Union meetings, and I don't believe that they really, most of them do really care for the sentiment of the ordinary British citizens all the time. They don't do that. So with all respect, I believe that we must get out of European Union. There is no reason why we shouldn't. And I think my video should help my friends to decide as well, because I was confused at times as well, but there's no more reasons to be confused.